Coming up, NASA wants to capture an asteroid.
And we're joined live in studio by Yuri's Night executive team member, Jeffrey Alice.
Then we'll be joined via Skype with DIYROCKETS' Darlene. All that and a whole lot more coming up on Spacevidcast Live, Season 6, Episode 11. Let's do this thing. Welcome to the show. My name is Benjamin Higginbotham. With me, as always, is the beautiful, lovely, wonderful, and talented Carrie Ann Higginbotham. And we are joined by Jeffrey. What is your title again? The Yuri's Night Executive Global Dominator?
We could go with that, but officially it's Director of Operations for the Yuri's Night Global
Got it.
Executive
Global
Team.
Dominator. And yesterday was Yuri's Night. Really quickly, before we go into any of the stats or what happened, any of this stuff, what is Yuri's Night?
Well, Yuri's Night is the anniversary on April 12th of Yuri Gagarin's spaceflight in 1961, the first spaceflight of any human. And so we use that as a chance to bring people together from arts and sciences, technology, everywhere in a common place and just bring humanity together. It's an opportunity to dream about where we're going, exploring where we are, and celebrating where we've been.
It's more than just celebrating Yuri Gagarin and the astronauts. It's celebrating all of humanity's achievements in space.
Yeah, definitely. It's also a celebration of the first launch of the space shuttle, which was 20 years to the day, thanks to a technical delay. After Yuri Gagarin's launch.
Just by chance, actually. It's
just
not like they
chance,
tried to line it up.
Right.
In fact, they weren't going to line it up. It was going to be a different date, but it just so happened that it launched on the same day. So give us a little bit of stats. How did Yuri's Night 2013 look from the executive committee's standpoint this last year?
It was a phenomenal success. I don't know how we're going to top this next year. The
fire-breathing Cirque du
Anything?
Soleil. Yeah, that's what you'll need. Cirque.
Yes.
The most important announcement is that we finally went interplanetary. There was an event with the Mars Curiosity rover, so now we're on 2 worlds, and that was definitely a first for us.
What about Spirit and Opportunity? What is it? Just Curiosity, just kind of sitting there doing a little party by herself and like not inviting Spirit and Opportunity?
I understand they were like Skyping through MRO or something like that. I think that's how they. I don't know though. I don't know. I think that was classified. So for stats, there were 351 events, and 57 countries, I believe.
Nice.
Yeah, on 7 continents. So we had
Very
Antarctica
cool.
again. So phenomenal success. We had a lot of new partnerships this year that we were really excited to do too. So really, it was a phenomenal success. That's how we're looking at it.
Yay.
That's really cool.
We'll have another one next year.
You know what? There's not been a Yuri's Night year that hasn't been a phenomenal success from our point of view.
Mm-hmm.
They always have been. For the past few years, we've broken all our records before.
So how'd you get started in Yuri's Night? How'd you get sucked into the...
Spacevidcast, actually.
Oh, I'm so sorry.
Yeah, I know. You do have a lot to apologize for. So it was Yuri's Night 2010. I was watching the Spacevidcast broadcast, and I was like, I really want to be a part of this. And so every year, the Yuri's Night Global Executive Team has applications open during the summer for the next year's team. And so I applied. I almost didn't apply, but something told me I should, and the rest is history. I started with Yuri's Night 2011, which was the largest Yuri's Night ever with 567 events.
Nice.
Yeah. 50th anniversary of human
500, and you had 350 something for... That was a huge event then.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, 350 this year. Yeah.
Very nice.
So where do you go from here, right? So you did the event. We did the event last night. We are... I'm just going to say it. We are abso-freaking-lutely exhausted because we were at the we'll call it what, the premier Yuri's Night event? I'll call it the best one because we were there. So that's how that works.
That's fair.
In Los Angeles, we were at the California Science Center, and directly overhead was Space Shuttle Endeavour. So we're here celebrating humanity's achievements in space with this amazing spacecraft sitting right overhead. Huge people. We had the president of Virgin Galactic there. Mm-hmm. We had the guys from Deep Space. We had the guys from X Prize. We had, teams from SpaceX.
We had Mohawk Guy.
We had Mohawk
I'm sorry,
Guy.
but seriously.
Yeah, we had Mohawk
We
Guy.
can't really top that.
Dude.
Yeah. So there was a point in there somewhere. I don't remember what it was,
but we were all exhausted.
We were all exhausted, but where do you go from here, right? So you've got this. How do you make it bigger and badder than that?
Well, every year we set a goal. For the past few years, we've had this really lofty goal of 1,000 events, but we also set a more practical goal that we definitely know that we can reach. And next year we want 500 events.
Okay.
And I would like for at least 100 of those to be in an educational center or science center or something. Yuri's Night 2013, we really tried more to reach out to K-12. So that's where we're going. We definitely want 500 events for 2014.
So how do you do that, right? I'm someone who's interested in helping you get the 500 events. What do I do?
Well, the most important thing you can do is plan an event. Yuri's Night events can be anything from, 2 people in their dorm room celebrating by watching Apollo 13 and having beers, or, NASA Ames in 2007 had 10,000 people. Yuri's Night LA had 750 last night. There's an event, I can't remember where, but for this year there was an event with 2,600 people.
Nice.
Whoa!
Yeah. So, the most important thing is go out and plan an event. You don't have to do it alone. And the great thing about Yuri's Night is you can put an event in your own cultural context. So it can be whatever makes sense for you wherever you are. And so from a global perspective, we get a great team together to help foster these events around the world.
That's super awesome.
It is. And so I'm interested in starting an event. What do I do?
Well, if you've never registered an event before, or even if you have, the first step is go to our website to get resources, logos, and register on the Mission Control Center website. And from there, you just plan an event, however you want to do it, get some people together, find the target audience, with Yuri's Night LA, there was no really specific target, it was just anybody who wanted to be there, and just plan it. Yuri's Night is there to help you do it, the global executive team. So we make tons of resources available on our website.
Now, you've got your cheat sheet in front of you. Are there any stats that you wanted to hit before we let you go?
There are so many things that I would love to cover, but that would take hours. I mean, this thing would be pages printed. 351 parties this year in 57 countries on 7 continents and 2 worlds, which we're really excited about, which is up from 2012 at 236 parties in 52 countries, nice. With our record being 567 events in 75 countries for 2011.
That's crazy.
Those are our stats, yeah. And we've shown constant growth over the years. 2011 did, put a dent in the ceiling of that graph, but we've seen constant growth, and we'd love to continue that, and we think we will.
Nice.
Awesome. All right, so yurisnight.net, that's where you can go for more information on Yuri's Night. You can see videos on the Yuri's Night YouTube channel. You got a bunch. I assume you're going to have a bunch of stuff coming out from these last parties.
Yes, and actually you can go to Yuri's Night Live. It's just live.yurisnight.net, and people from around the world are submitting their videos and their photos of their event, and you can see them live as we moderate them. And we've been really fast on that, thanks to our social media team.
That's really cool. All right, so I'm going to keep you on set just for a moment because you're a Spacevidcaster. You're not just Yuri's Night.
Yeah.
You've been with us for
4 years this August.
Ever. Oh, wow, that's a long time.
4 years
There are a few people in the chat room who've been there longer. I think Trent has been there since like the season 1, but very few. I think it's just a small handful of people.
Oh God.
But before we go to break, I did want to talk about NASA's new plan to capture an asteroid, which is basically the Obama administration is asking Congress for about $17.7 billion for a NASCO.
Yep.
NASA's. I told you we were at Yuri's Night, dude.
Would you like a cheat sheet?
Honestly.
I have a cheat
one.
sheet.
That's
I
the worst
said
part.
I called NASA NASCO. I don't know how you recover from that.
Good.
Asking for $17.7 billion in 2014. It's down about 1% from 2013. It's $105 million to boost studies of asteroids. Now, they're also talking about doing manned missions to asteroids. That $105 million is purely for the studies. Understand going to an asteroid is going to cost a lot more than $105 million. Yeah. There seems to be some confusion out there, right? You're reading the comments, and people are like, oh, yeah, 105. I don't know how they're going to do that. They're not. That's the study portion of it. They still want to send astronauts to an asteroid by 2025 or Mars by 2030. And they're going to include another $20 billion over time to study near-Earth asteroids, which is currently double what they're doing right now. Unfortunately, this comes at a hit for planetary sciences, which is taking a $300 million hit compared to 2012. So the planetary sciences stuff, which keep in mind, that would be things like Curiosity,
Right.
Spirit, Opportunity, a lot of those really cool things. Now, their point was, look, we've already kind of paid for a good chunk of these things. They're no longer in the really expensive multi-billion-dollar launch it and design it and do
Right,
it
until
phase.
you want another one.
Until you want another one.
Just
NASA's
saying.
planetary sciences stuff is some of the coolest stuff out there. So I'd love if we could find a way to not have a hit in planetary sciences, but then also be able to do some of the manned stuff as well, because all of it's inspiring, all of it's important, all of it's really cool. So on that note, we're going to thank you so much for joining us, Jeffrey.
You're
it was
welcome.
A lot of fun. This is the first time you've actually been out here, right? You've never seen the
This Endeavor or
either Endeavor or
California?
yeah, I have.
Spacevidcast.
Well, yeah, I haven't been on Spacevidcast before. Yeah.
Yeah, so welcome to the show, and now get off my show. All right, we're going
right
to take
then.
a quick break. When we come back, we're DIY rockets and a 3D printing contest. Stay with us. We'll be right back.
Greetings from the International Space Station. I'm Canadian Space Agency astronaut Chris Hadfield, and I'm really glad to be with you on Yuri's Night, the day, no matter where we are, when we come together to celebrate the past, the present, and the future of human space exploration. Yuri's Night commemorates the day that humanity first entered space, the 12th of April, 1961. I was almost 2. And connects people across the planet, and even here in orbit. Like Yuri Gagarin did over 50 years ago, Yuri's Night calls on humanity to protect the beauty of planet Earth while looking to the stars. Whether it's from a single pluck of a guitar string to the orbital maneuvering thrusters that are on this space station, Yuri's Night brings the talent and the creativity of people together from all walks of life with the inspiration of space. The orbital perspective that I've been privileged to share through social media, it shows how we are advancing in ways of communication, allowing us to connect and bring space into everyone's everyday life. On the space station, we're running over 100 different experiments simultaneously, from medical experiments on changes to the body, to metal sintering here in the racks, to collecting dark matter and dark energy, the very stuff of the universe. We've come a long way in 52 years. But really, we've only just begun to explore the cosmos. In the next 52 years, I can imagine building on this, inventing new engines, new power sources, a level of safety and reliability, setting us free to travel beyond low Earth orbit, to live on the moon, to live on Mars, and to go beyond. From Yuri's courageous first flight, to Neil's first step, to the leaps we've made since, and to the giant leaps that await our creativity and our drive and our inventiveness. Celebrons ensemble l'héritage de Yuri Gagarin. I'd like to wish everyone a happy Yuri's Night.
And welcome back to the show. We're joined now by Darlene from DIYROCKETS via Skype. Darlene, welcome to Spacevidcast. Tell me really quickly, who is and what is DIYROCKETS?
Yes, so we're a new space company. We were incorporated in October of last year in 2012. And there's 2 of us that founded it, myself, Darlene Dom, and my co-founder, Diego Favarolo, who is from Argentina. And basically, I think if you're following the space industry, you know that it's growing rapidly right now in a lot of different ways. And one of the things we were thinking about is how do we create the future space industry in a way that everyone can participate in it, and how at the same time, by being able to tap into talent, do we lower the cost of building space technology. And so our thought is, can we crowdsource and open source space hardware? And we'd been thinking about this for several months, talking to lots of different people, and looking at how we might be able to do that on the internet, when we came across a group called Sunglass, which is a design company which allows people to collaboratively design hardware together online. And so once we met them, we thought, okay, everything that we want to do, it's actually possible to do right now. And we about 4 weeks ago, we launched our first competition for people to create designs of 3D printed rocket engines. And that's so far we've had 40 teams register, and tonight there actually is the day when everybody's unveiling their initial drafts of their designs. And it's a collaborative competition, so the competition doesn't end till June 1st, and we're looking both for the technical designs of the rocket engines, but also, which teams were the most collaborative, and also looking at their business cases, because we actually want to have a practical use for the technology we're developing.
Describe the size of these engines, though, right? Because we talk a lot about like Falcon 9 rockets with the Merlin engines. Those are big engines. You're not 3D printing an engine that big. What size engine are you talking about here?
So what we put out to the contestants was an engine that can carry less than 20 kilograms into low Earth orbit. And we didn't specify exactly how you should do that. Should it be in stages? Should you be using another vehicle to get to that point? Because the 3D printing technology and the collaborative design process are both very, very new. The first 3D printed rocket engine that we saw came on the internet, I think in October, so just a few months ago. So part of what we're doing is giving people the opportunity to explore and test the limits of the 3D printing and capturing that knowledge during this initial contest, hoping to get some good designs. And then this is just the design portion. So then the next piece will be looking at, actually building those. And then the next piece after that will be testing.
So what are some of the practical applications of these 3D printed rocket engines?
Yeah. Well, so one area that we're really looking at is the delivery of small payloads, so nanosatellites.
And that's right now getting nanosats. So nanosats don't cost a lot. They're really tiny little things. The problem with nanosats today is it costs so much money to launch them into space. So you got this little low-cost satellite and this $100 million launch vehicle.
Right.
That doesn't work. That doesn't make any
doesn't
sense.
equate.
So would something like this, the contest itself, do you think that would yield rocket engines capable of lofting nanosats up into suborbital or even orbital space?
That's the long-term goal. Right now, I think the way to think about it is that we're in the R&D stage. With the contest, we have a total of $10,000 in prizes, and if we have 40 entries, which are part of the R&D process, that's really what we're trying to speed up here by opening up the way that technology is developed and designed and making it collaborative and changing the incentive structure. How do we speed up that process to get to the right technology to meet the goals?
Tell me a little bit about the contest itself. What are some of the rules? Who was able to apply? You mentioned a $10,000 purse.
Yeah.
Tell me more about the contest.
Yeah. So we actually have 3 different prizes. The first prize is for the overall best rocket engine design. It's $5,000. It takes into account the technical design, the collaborative element. So on the Sunglass platform, you're able to see how everyone's interacting with one another. Are people giving feedback to other teams? And is it helpful? Are they taking feedback? Are people sharing their information early so that you can then get to that stage of collaboration? And then the third piece is explaining your business case. So how the rocket you're designing compares to what else is out there, and will it be effective? And within all of this, also people will be attaching a concept note about how they envision the rocket engine being used. So, are you attaching it to a balloon system? Are you using it to? Will you be launching it from another type of vehicle?
So, are there applications in space as well? Can you 3D print? You're talking about 3D. The contest is for 3D printing a rocket engine. Which, by the way, let's just pause and think about that for a moment. 3D printing a rocket engine. You're not welding this thing together. You're using a 3D printer to make an entire rocket engine. That's pretty cool.
That's insane.
And that actually, in the opening sequence, right off your website, when we were talking about coming up on the show, that engine you saw was a 3D printed rocket engine right off of your website, actually. So these things can be done. It's just how big can you scale these things up to, I guess, is really what it comes down to.
That's awesome.
There was a point in all of that. Oh, in space, are there applications in space as well with, maybe lofting something up there and then printing a series of engines and then moving, or are you leaving that all up to the teams like you mentioned earlier? Look, you guys tell us what to use this for.
Yeah. We're using it. We're leaving this open to the teams. On our side, also, we're thinking about what are the future competitions that we want to hold to both take the design of the 3D rocket engine further, but also what are the other key technologies that we need to be focusing on, in the space industry as a whole, that if we can lower the cost of those key technologies, it will open up the whole industry further for everyone.
Are you still accepting people to actually go in and try to enter the contest, or is that kind of locked down at this point and you've got your contest people?
Yeah, so the registration ended last weekend, actually, but this is open. So if you're an expert in rocket engines, or you can still go on there and you can interact with the teams, you can give them feedback, you can still participate.
And where can people go for more information and to follow the contest itself?
Yeah, so DIYROCKETS.com, DIYROCKETS.com. That's our website. And you can go right to our Rocket Challenge page, and that will take you into the Sunglass platform.
And you'll be posting videos and other stuff about that as they come out and are available, so you can actually see 3D rockets doing things?
Well, so tonight is our deadline for the teams to be opening up their information. So that you'll be able to go in and seeing the drafts of the designs and any concept notes that people have uploaded.
That'll be really cool.
Very cool.
And then, will some of the teams share their engine, or can you not share that because it would be considered an ITAR violation? I mean, because if it's just 3D printed, and I have a 3D printer,
that's a good
idea. So when I looked at ITAR, there's you don't need to apply for a license if your information is in the public domain, and also the rocket engines that are under ITAR are for delivering over 500 kilograms. Oh. So of course everyone should double check all of this for themselves. But we're not doing this for defense purposes, and it's part of the public domain. So DIY Drones has been doing similar work since 2008.
That would be really cool if I could just go online, download a 3D rocket engine, print my 3D rocket engine, and now I could start building a rocket based on this printed engine. Now, this is to be clear. Amazing. A lot of people think of 3D printers and they think the plastic 3D printers. This is more likely DLMS, direct laser metal sintering. We're making a metallic product, not a 3D plastic product. Is that correct?
Well, so Shapeways, they've offered credits for teams for the top 3 winning teams as part of the prize, and they can print with stainless steel right now. But my take of what's happening in the 3D printing industry is that every couple of weeks it's changing rapidly in terms of what we're able to print. So you can see the engine on our website from a guy who goes by the name of Rocket Moonlighting, which is a working 3D printed engine, which of course hasn't been tested to send anything into space. But the whole point of why we had this contest is to push the development on 3D printing.
I think this is a really cool contest, and I'm excited to watch it and see what's produced out of this. I think it's a lot of fun.
Totally.
I want to thank you very much for taking the time out of your Saturday afternoon and joining us on Spacevidcast, and we'll certainly send more people over to DIYROCKETS.com, as well as Sunglass, which is the kind of collaboration 3D printing platform that you guys are all partnered up with as well.
Exactly. Yeah, right. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Have a great one. And we're going to take a quick break. When we come back, viewer comments from last week's show.
Looking to her face, determination in her eyes. She won't give up or quit or fall for little fashion lines. Filled with awesome expectation, this girl's a fascination, and nothing in her way will keep her from her destination. 'Cause she's fire walking, she's fire walking. When it's hot, she keeps on moving through the heat, keeps on improving. Yeah, she's fire walking, she's fire walking to be free.
Welcome back. Now, before we continue, I'm super excited about 3D printing rocket engines because
Yeah.
right now they're fairly small. They're kind of for nanosats,
Yeah.
but even so, even if we can get radically lower the cost of getting nanosats into space, we're going to be able to do some really cool things. But even outside of that, there's nothing to say that this technology can't get larger and larger and larger, and
Right.
eventually you'd be able to print something the size of, say, a Merlin engine.
Well, you wouldn't.
Well, no, why not? Well,
ITAR
other
what?
than ITAR.
Didn't
all right.
we just
so
discuss
let's
that?
let's
Come on
ignore
now.
law for a moment
Right,
and only
okay.
talk technology.
Okay.
From a technology standpoint, you'd be able to 3D print your own rocket engine.
Yeah.
And I think that's really cool. Talk about ways to lower cost and cost of
I'll
space.
just print one. It's fine.
I'll just print one.
That's so crazy.
I will just why stop at the engine?
Right.
Why not just keep going? I'll go ahead and print a rocket.
I'll print a rocket.
I think that's super awesome.
Oh
The other thing that's been mentioned with 3D printing, I think 3D printing is a really exciting technology. We're going to need 3D printers in space. If we're going to Mars and we're doing these long duration missions, we're going to need the ability to 3D print replacement parts on the fly because you're not bringing up duplicates of absolutely everything.
Right.
So you need to be able to, if something goes wrong, you need to be able to print apart a space-worthy part.
This is so Star Trek. Right?
It is
This
so Star Trek. It's like print me an engine. Takes a little bit longer than the.
I suppose, right?
Yeah, exactly. All right. How about some comments from last week's show? First is from Bill Hughesley, who says, "I think that an asteroid impact on Mars would be such a major transition event in space interest that dust on in space interest
There
that
you
dust
go.
on the solar panels of Mars rovers would not be a concern. We could just send someone from the Mars habitat to sweep it off occasionally."
Ouch.
Actually, that brings up an interesting point of robots versus humans.
Right.
There are a lot of the planetary sciences people who are all about robots. Why are we spending billions of dollars on humans? They're not doing anything. It takes all of our money. This sucks. Then you got the human spaceflight group going, why are we spending any money on robots? They're not humans. They're boring.
Right. They can't do anything as fast.
They can't do anything.
Yeah.
The correct answer is in the middle.
Yeah.
We need the humans to go out and scope out these areas for us in advance. But if we're not doing it for us, then what's the point?
You mean the robots?
We need robots to say,
wow.
Allow me to remind you
We
we
just
were
need
at
to sacrifice
Yuri's night
humans
for
as
a
many
long
as we
time.
possibly can.
Yeah, exactly.
No, so we need the robots to go out.
We need the robots to go out.
Scope the area.
Scope the area. Do some science. They can do some science.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
But if you want to do the real science and you really want to learn, that's when you need the humans.
So insulting.
Right? Well,
the real science.
the real science. We're not bowing to our robot overlords just yet.
Just yet, I suppose. No. I mean, you do make a good point. I would prefer that the robots go out, plow a little flat area for me, maybe build a house for me before I get
3D
there.
print 3D
print my house for me. That would
yeah.
be great. And then I can dig a hole and go, no, that's water.
Which you could still dig that hole way faster than that robot can.
Oh, absolutely.
Consider this: all of the science we've ever gotten off of Mars is about a week or two worth of actual science that a human could do.
If we could get the humans there and in a livable
That's
situation.
the hard part.
Oh, okay. Oh, that's the hard part.
That's the hard part.
Right, I
yeah.
see. All right,
so,
now I understand.
We can do a lot more science. We can do a lot more cool things. So, actually, I like the comment simply because have someone from Mars go out and sweep it off occasionally. Exactly.
That's exactly
the robots
it.
and humans work in tandem together to create an epic workflow of epicness. That's a thing. Eric Unger says, is SpaceX the Apple of the future? Apple's iPhones was a light beam from the future when it first arrived. The same can be said about a reusable rocket. Also, like the iPhone, there seems to be at least one new version of Falcon every year instead of one new design every 20 years in old space. I guess this will get more difficult once Falcon plus Dragon are human-rated. How will they keep up with the innovation rate then?
Can I say really quickly? I like how he took old space and smushed it together.
You know what? Just like we're doing with new space.
Right, and they also, the capitalization of the O and the S, it makes it look like Old Spice. Which, I mean, I guess for
We
the
need the Old
Australians,
Spice.
can't hear the difference anyway. But that's okay. Anyway.
Oh!
Aha! No, no, no. And I also sort of like the concept of, Falcon, new one every year. iPhone, new one every year.
I don't
No
think there's
big.
a new Falcon every year.
No,
though.
there isn't.
I mean,
there isn't. But
it feels like
feels
Falcon
like
9,
it.
yeah. But that is not the case. That is not the case. Space does take a lot longer than an iPhone, but space does a lot more than, say, your iPhone, right? I mean, it's I know. It is rocket science. In 1 year, the iPhone has more resolution and LTE. Yay. Awesome.
Yeah.
Right? So,
Yeah.
but the next Falcon rocket is all new engines, way more powerful, much cheaper, easier access to space, more payload. I mean, this is not a small thing.
Right. Eric does make a good point, though, that once it's human rated, how much change is there really going to be? Is that going to stop some things, right? Because one of the big deals is that with old space not changing as much is like, all right, well, it's tried and true. It's already known. We already, we've identified the failure points already.
Sure.
We know what the risks are, and we're just going to stick with that as opposed to, no, it's cool. Let's just build a new one.
So I guess it depends, right? So NASA's human rating is probably pretty insane. I don't know.
Right.
But who's to say that it has to be NASA's human rating? Certainly if it's a NASA mission, it will have to be.
Right.
But what if it's not? What if you and I want to go to space?
Right. Well, all right. But still.
As long as you have quadruple redundancy and everything.
But look at Soyuz, right? Same concept, right? So it's not NASA anymore. Now it's the Russians. And the Russians are going, it's all right. We've been using it for however many years. It's totally cool. No big. I mean, is that an innovation issue, or is that a money issue, like a funding issue? Is that because it is human rated and human rating is so difficult and you don't, Russians, by the way, and I don't mean any offense in any way, shape, or form, but who are notorious for being like, it's probably okay, throw it out there, and then maybe lose a couple humans. Like, we keep getting these news stories from back in the day of like how Russia was trying to keep some of this stuff quiet, that they did lose quite a few humans and kind of didn't really say. And, all of those sorts. So, again, not trying to insinuate that the Russians are careless. We all make mistakes along the way. At some point, NASA certainly lost humans. Okay, not the point. We're getting depressing. But my general idea here is that, is that because it's a human rating thing? Is it because it's a funding thing? Is it because it's
I think it's an
innovation thing?
I think it's a culture thing. I think that.
Do you think we're all just too scared? NASA, you name.
I think that has happened, right? So NASA's culture after Apollo 13 became failure is not an option, right? And because of when failure is not an option, success becomes god awful expensive.
Right.
And because it's so expensive, you can do a lot less. You can innovate a lot less. Your options are substantially limited. But when you're willing to do things like, let's test Grasshopper, for example, and maybe we'll make a crater. Maybe it will fail. We don't know. It's not failing with humans on board. I mean, who knows, right? When you're willing to take that and you've got a culture of, I don't know, let's try. You're going to be able to get a lot more done. I don't know what human rating is going to do. I mean, those are all valid points. I like to think that it won't change anything and that things will keep moving forward. Because why can't you take a different tact? Right now, it's you have to build this new human-rated rocket that's designed for humans. Why? Why not do what SpaceX is doing? You've got this cargo-rated rocket right now, and everything's doing cargo. But once you have enough successful missions on your belt and you've got the redundancy built into it, why can't you go, yeah, that's good for humans, right?
Yes.
At some point, you just got to go, yeah, humans can fly on that.
All right.
Yeah, I mean, there's more to it than that, but yeah, so there's that.
Just
all
asking.
Right. This is from Rob Isaacson. What do you think the chances of the 2013 A1 hitting Mars near the poles and releasing CO2, thus raising the temperatures of the planet, releasing more CO2, creating an endless cycle? Are you guys still in Minnesota? So that's actually two questions.
He did sort of sneak that second one in there a little bit, didn't he?
At the end. You can't tell, can you? I don't know. Should we tell them where we're located?
No.
All right.
Super secret bunker.
Do I think it will release enough CO2 to create a chain reaction? I don't. If it did hit,
right.
I don't. That would be a fantastic impact. And while this is a large asteroid, it's not that large. So, that was actually an
Wouldn't it
interesting
be-
topic we had
right?
at Space Up.
Yes.
Which is
Yeah.
another reason you should attend Space Up unconferences.
Well, yeah.
When you can, which was what would it take to start the cycle on Mars to make all of that start going?
Yeah, we already know how to do greenhouse effect down here.
Yes, we're quite good at it.
We're really
good at
so
it.
we'll just duplicate it. On
Hard
another-
part on Mars is the lack of a magnetosphere, but
Right.
the thought process is so that there's nothing to really hold in the atmosphere, but it doesn't mean it's just going to instantly blow away. So you kind of just have to keep regurgitating it. But totally something that's doable. So I don't think that's that powerful. And the second part, are we still in Minnesota? I will tell you, no, we are no longer in Minnesota. We are out in California. Specifically, we're like 2 miles away from Disneyland, which is why we're always at Disneyland. All right, that's our show for this week. I'd like to thank everyone so much for watching. There's a possibility that there will be no show next week. Stay tuned to the Spacevidcast Twitter account, twitter.com/SpaceVidcast, as well as the Spacevidcast live events calendar at spacevidcast.com/live. And we'll talk about, we'll let you know what the status of next week's show is. Season 5. Where did that come
I don't
from?
know.
6.12. Otherwise, we're going to start Spacevidcast After Dark in just a few moments. If you're watching on demand and you'd like to watch Spacevidcast After Dark, you're going to need an Epic account. What's an Epic account? An Epic account is what helps us produce this show. It gives you enhanced productions, interviews, and content, and that is a $10 per month or $100 per year upgrade for your Spacevidcasters. That money gives you access to awesome stuff like AIAA meetings, Spacevidcast After Dark, LA Space Salon meetings, a bunch of extra stuff, gigs and gigs. I think it's like 40 gigs of additional content.
As well as, and ironically, I will post this ironically, one of the reasons that we may not have a show next week is because somebody is borrowing all of our gear that you helped pay for. So there's
Kind of.
that. But our gear now is so awesome. Other people are borrowing it from us. So thank you to
There's
all of
more to that story than that.
That's
but
it.
yeah.
That's basically it. So thank you to our Space Vidcasters for that. Your money obviously does go right directly back into the show.
Absolutely, it does. And there's a lot of really cool gear, really cool stuff that we're doing. Oh, and speaking of, before we go, I do want to point
yes.
out, check this out. We'll add this into the show notes. This is we showed these off last week. These are the printed posters that we're working on. So this is one of the professionally printed posters. You can buy these now, right now, the professionally printed ones. The URL is long and complicated, so I'm not going to say it, but we'll post it in the show notes, and you can go buy one. Starting next week, we're going to make it available as a download. Now, if you've got an inkjet printer, consider for a moment how much ink this is going to take, and seriously
Full
consider
color,
buying the full color print from the artist.
gorgeous.
Because it is gorgeous. But if you don't want to and you want to print it out on your own printer at home, feel free to do that. We'll try to see if we can come up with more of these in the theme that maybe use a little less ink on your printer. But these are designed to get you inspired about space, and this one's specific to Mars and Olympus Mons. On Mars, so this is the top of
gorgeous.
Mount Everest right here. We have different markers. This is how high commercial airliners go, supersonic jets. This is how high clouds have been known to go, and this is how high Olympus Mons is, giving you an example of how high things actually get up there. And there's this really cool text on the bottom. It's kind of like a movie poster. So, like I said, we'll make those available in show notes. And like I said, that's our show for this week. I'd like to thank everyone so much for watching. Stay tuned if you're watching live. After Dark is up next.
The most important announcement is that we finally went interplanetary. There's an event with the Mars Curiosity rover, so now we're on 2 worlds, and that was definitely a first for us.
What about Spirit and Opportunity? What is it, just Curiosity, just kind of sitting there doing a little party by herself and like not inviting Spirit and Opportunity?
I understand they were like Skyping through MRO or something like that. I think that's how they. I don't know though. I don't know. I think that was classified. So for stats, there were 351 events, and 57 countries, I believe.
Nice.
Yeah, on 7 continents. So we had
Very
Antarctica
cool.
again. So phenomenal success. We had a lot of new partnerships this year that we were really excited to do too. So really, it was a phenomenal success. That's how we're looking at it.
That's really cool.
We'll have another one next year.
You know what? There's not been a year that hasn't been a phenomenal success from our point of view.
Mm-hmm.
They always have been. for the past few years, we've broken all our records before.
So how'd you get started in Yuri's Night? How'd you get sucked into the...
Spacevidcast, actually.
Oh, I'm so sorry.
Yeah, I know. You do have a lot to apologize for. So it was Yuri's Night 2010. I was watching.
Coming up, NASA wants to capture an asteroid.
And we're joined live in studio by Yuri's Night executive team member Jeffrey Alice.
Then we'll be joined via Skype with DIYROCKETS, Darlene, all that and a whole lot more coming up on Spacevidcast Live, Season 6, Episode 11. Let's do this thing. Welcome to the show. My name is Benjamin Higginbotham. With me, as always, is the beautiful, lovely, wonderful, and talented Carrie Ann Higginbotham. And we are joined by Jeffrey. What is your title again? The Yuri's Night Executive Global Dominator?
We could go with that, but officially it's Director of Operations for the Yuri's Night Global
Got it.
Executive
Global
Team.
Dominator. And yesterday was Yuri's Night. Really quickly, before we go into any of the stats or what happened, any of that stuff, what is Yuri's Night?
Well, Yuri's Night is the anniversary on April 12th of Yuri Gagarin's spaceflight in 1961, the first spaceflight of any human. And so we use that as a chance to bring people together from arts and sciences, technology, everywhere in a common place and just bring humanity together. It's an opportunity to dream about where we're going, exploring where we are, and celebrating where we've been.
It's more than just celebrating Yuri Gagarin and the astronauts. It's celebrating all of humanity's achievements in space.
Yeah, definitely. It's also a celebration of the first launch of the space shuttle, which was 20 years to the day, thanks to a technical delay after Yuri Gagarin's launch.
Just by chance, actually. It's
Just
not
by
like they
chance,
tried to
yeah.
line it up.
Right.
In fact,
It was a
they
delay.
weren't going to line it up. It was
Yeah.
going to be a different date, but it just so happened
Yep.
that it launched on the same day. So give us a little bit of stats. How did Yuri's Night 2013 look from the executive committee's standpoint this last year?
It was a phenomenal success. I don't know how we're going to top this next year. The
Fire-breathing circus, Cirque du
Anything?
Soleil. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's what you'll need.
Yeah.
Cirque du-
Yes.
yeah.
Sorry,
Yeah,
but
that-
seriously.
Yeah, we had
we
Mohawk
can't
guy.
really top that.
Dude.
Yeah. So there was a point in there somewhere.
Mm-hmm.
I don't remember what it was,
But
but
we were all exhausted.
we were all exhausted. But where do you go from here, right? So you've got this. How do you make it bigger and badder than that?
Well, every year we set a goal. For the past few years, we've had this really lofty goal of 1,000 events. But we also set a more practical goal that we definitely know that we can reach. And next year we want 500 events.
Okay.
And I would like for at least 100 of those to be in an educational center or science center or something. Yuri's Night 2013, we really tried more to reach out to K-12. So that's where we're going. We definitely want 500 events for 2014.
So how do
Nice.
you do that, right? I'm someone who's interested in helping you get to 500 events. What do I do?
Well, the most important thing you can do is plan an event. Yuri's Night events can be anything from, two people in their dorm room celebrating by watching Apollo 13 and having beers, or, NASA Ames in 2007 had 10,000 people. Yuri's Night LA had a Spacevidcast broadcast, and I was like, I really want to be a part of this. And so every year, the Yuri's Night Global Executive Team has applications open during the summer for the next year's team. And so I applied. I almost didn't apply, but something told me I should, and the rest is history. I started with Yuri's Night 2011, which was the largest Yuri's Night ever with 567 events.
Nice.
Yeah. 50th anniversary of human
500, and you had 350 something for that was a huge
300.
event then.
Yeah, 350 this year. Yeah.
Very nice.
So where do you go from here, right? So you did the event. We did the event last night. We are. I'm just gonna say it. We are abso-freaking-lutely exhausted because we were at the we'll call it what, the premiere Yuri's Night event. I'll call it the best one because we were there. So that's how that works.
That's fair.
In Los Angeles, we were at the California Science Center,
Yes.
and directly overhead was Space Shuttle Endeavour. So we're here celebrating humanity's achievements in space with this amazing spacecraft sitting right overhead. Huge. We had the president of Virgin Galactic there. We had the guys from Deep Space. We had the guys from X Prize. We had, teams from SpaceX.
We had
all
Mohawk guy.
We had
I'm
Mohawk